What's up, Navigating Academia family? This is Dr. J. Phoenix Singh coming to you to be able to answer a valued viewer question. You guys know I love y'all. Don't get paid for doing this, so I'd really appreciate if you guys can smash that thumbs up, that like button right now to be able to give me some love. It helps the YouTube algorithm quite a bit. It helps us get more subscribers, more views. You guys know me. My personal mission is to be able to help as many people as I conceivably can using this channel, and so you guys can super help me out by doing that for me. Make sure if you like watching these videos, if you enjoy our content, we try to post at least several times a week. If you enjoy the content, please do feel free to subscribe. We would love to have you here on this kind of little YouTube journey that we got going together right now. It's going surprisingly well. So I appreciate your guys' time watching these videos, and I especially appreciate your comments and questions. So make sure if you have a question for me that you think would be of interest to the entire Navigating Academia community, be sure to post it down below. If it's general enough that it would be of interest to a lot of people on the channel, I will make sure to make a video to be able to answer that question for you in as timely a manner as I can. If it's something where it's a hyper-specific question or you want direct guidance in your particular case to be able to get into your dream graduate program, I specifically work with individuals who are interested and passionate about getting into the behavioral healthcare fields. So this is clinical psych PhDs and PsyDs, both domestically in the US as well as internationally, as well as degrees like getting your MSW, so your Master's in Social Work, your MA in Counseling, so on and so forth. So if that's something that's of interest, you can go ahead and visit my website, the link for which is below, and we can go ahead and set up a call and be able to drill some stuff together. It'll be great. So let's go ahead and get to today's question, though. So today's question comes from Keith. So Keith, thank you so much, man, for watching. Thank you for your question. I appreciate you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. I'm going to read it on my screen right now. I'll give you my thoughts. So Keith's question is pretty simple one. Do certifications or certificates help you in graduate school? So Keith, when I initially read your comment, I wasn't sure whether you were talking about whether it helps you to get into graduate school or whether it helps you once you're already in graduate school. So I'm going to go ahead and answer your question regarding both sides of that question, okay? Because I wasn't sure which one you were referring to, and I would hate to do the wrong one, and then you got to ask the question again. So basically, Keith, in terms of getting into graduate school, having certifications or certificates, which to me are basically the same thing, usually you're going to get these by attending some kind of specialized training, going to events, so on and so forth. Could be a pre-conference workshop, could be something where maybe you're doing something online. In this day and age, a lot of universities will kind of provide you with kind of free certificates or certification programs online. You know, you do something, you complete some classes, all of which are free e-learning modules. Then at the end, you get a little fancy certificate to be able to show that you've successfully passed usually some kind of quiz, something like that. So is that going to actually help you get into graduate school or not? That's a great question. So I think it's something more than anything where what it does is it supplements, but it does not replace anything that you may otherwise be doing. So for example, if you watch my other videos, Keith, on this channel, you're going to hear me talk a lot about getting publications, building personal connections with your target grad school supervisor. You're going to hear me talk about things like getting good test scores, getting a good GPA, strategically how to be able to get good letters of recommendation, getting research experience, and getting clinical experience. These to me are kind of holistic, and also obviously writing things like, personal statement, getting grant funding, that kind of stuff. But this is a holistic matter, Keith, that we're talking about here. Certificates and certifications in kind of generic things. So for example, like if you get a certification in like leadership or management best practices, it doesn't mean anything. It's like getting, like for example, maybe you got employee of the month working at a local swimwear shop, right? It's not going to do anything for you. Or you got in first place, running a marathon. I think that's super cool. I think that's great. Is it going to help you get into grad school? Absolutely not. The thing is, though, is that sometimes these certificates or certifications can reinforce your interest in particular skill sets that you need to develop anyway in graduate school. So these are things, for example, like, you guys know me, I love me some stats. So anything having to do with statistics or math of any kind, super important in grad school, especially if you're doing some sort of a research degree. You really need to know what you're talking about. So if you can get certifications in kind of higher level stats, so again, if you're talking about like regression or comparisons of means, things like t-tests, z-tests, chi-squared, Kruskal-Wallis ANOVAs or one-way ANOVAs, parametric, non-parametric stuff. That's super simple, right? I would not consider that as something that would make you stand out. But if you're getting some sort of a certificate, for example, in hierarchical linear modeling, or a certification in, I don't know, propensity scoring, structural equation modeling, meta-analytic methodology, you name it, these kind of more advanced things, maybe factor analysis, maybe not, it's not too advanced. But if you are getting certificates or certifications in something like that, I would be very interested. I would look at that, especially if it's something where the methodology that your target supervisor uses, that's one of the methodologies, or it's a methodology that she or he is looking at getting into, and you already know how to do it. In fact, you've got a certification in it. Freaking awesome. If you've already taken a class in, advanced, regression analysis or something like that, then the fact that you can, make Kaplan-Meier curves and Cox, regression survival analysis, that's not very impressive to me to have a certification on top of that, because I already know you took the class. But if you didn't take a particular class, or maybe the name of the class is not high specificity, it's high sensitivity, advanced statistical analysis, it doesn't really mean anything, right? But if you have those certifications on top of it, that could put you over the top, right? Like, that is a good supplement, Keith, okay? In terms of clinical skill sets, I have found that it doesn't really do that much. I think it's great in terms of providing evidence that you're interested in doing clinical work. So, for example, I'm in psych. If you do something like, like a DBT certification, dialectical behavior therapy, ABA, applied behavioral analysis, a lot of people I know who are not doctoral students have done something like that as part of their master's, or just being a behavioral coach at a hospital, a clinic, you name it. So that's certainly something, Keith, that you could look into. But it's something where if you already have clinical experience, which some people do and some people don't, and I do recommend getting it if you're interested in applying for a clinical program for at least one semester, like at least, okay, if not like years at a time. But this is something where getting these certifications, if you don't have that clinical experience, yeah, I would say that could help as well. Remember that at the end of the day, Keith, getting into these programs, especially something like a clinical psych PhD, it's more difficult than getting into medical school, at least here domestically in the United States. And I know that we have viewers from all around the world, so I love you guys, regardless of where you are, as you know. But this is definitely one of these situations where if you're trying to get into a hyper-competitive program, the unfortunate part is really understanding that having good grades, good test scores, amazing letters of recommendation, that kind of stuff, or having research experience, clinical experience, that stuff makes you totally average. If you don't have that kind of stuff, it's going to be really hard to get into a program. But if you have all of it, a lot of people, I know I did until this truth bomb was dropped on me. And now I know that kind of one of my jobs here on this channel is to drop these truth bombs on you. But hopefully, you guys like that. Because I find very few people shoot you straight, especially when it comes to applying for grad school. And I care about you, and I care about your future, and I care about you getting the life that you want and getting the degree that you want. So I need to make sure that you're prepared. Because a lot of people will think to themselves, Keith, something along the lines of, I've got all of those things. That means that I must be a shoo-in for grad school, because that's all anybody's ever told me I need. But they don't talk about publications. They don't talk about strategically how to be able to build a personal relationship, professional, but like a personal connection, as it were, with your target supervisor. Those are the things that are going to put you over the top a lot more than things like certificates and certifications. So if you have to choose how to be able to spend your time, Keith, I would much rather you spend time working on a project that you're hoping to be able to write up a manuscript to submit for publication, or doing something that's going to get you accepted, let's say, to give a conference paper, preferably not a conference poster, but a conference paper, so that this way you can go to a conference where one of your target supervisors is going to be, and you can meet them in person, right? That is a better spend of your time when it comes to getting into graduate programs. Okay, so that's getting in. In terms of when you're already in graduate school, do certificates or certifications help? So that's looking at your question the other way, Keith. What I would say is that if you're already in grad school, right, especially if you're in some sort of a clinical program, wait until you're doing the clinical practicum, right? When you're doing the clinical practicum, then you can really, invest a lot of your time and potentially some of your money from that new gig to be able to get certificates, certifications, and so forth. Remember that if you are doing anything that requires clinical licensure in the preponderance of countries, you're still going to have to do some kind of continuing professional development. And if that's the case, then it's definitely something where, regardless of whether it results in a certificate or a certification, my man, you're going to be doing it anyway. So, it's certainly something where that can wait if you're already in graduate school. So, those are my recommendations. Appreciate you, Keith. Love you guys. Make sure to be able to keep watching videos on this channel. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button and make sure to comment below. Helps the algorithm out a lot. All right, y'all. Have a great day. Peace. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.